Well, definitely not the outcome that any of us were looking for, but this is the 110 Football Instant Reaction Postgame Show. Thank you for joining us. We're here on the 110 Football YouTube channel in partnership with Adidas. Guys, not how we wanted to go. Connor, I'm going to come to you because you're a ball of emotion right now.
I'm going to shout out to Jessica Black. This was a cup final. This was one of the most cup finals we've played in the last handful of games, and we did not win this cup final. I just want to make that perfectly clear. We're not out, we're not in, but it's going to be hard.
The waiting sucks.
Yeah, and then we're playing Colorado, who's not terrible, away. So take that the way you want to, but this sucks. This sucks. Don't laugh at me, Vince.
I'm trying not to, but I get it. Look, I'm 100% with you. I understand that your feelings are 33 games into the season, all mixed into one. I would love to break this game down because I thought it was an incredible match, and it was exactly what we wanted. It was two sides going toe-to-toe, trying to do what they did best. LAFC just weren't sharp in the sharpest moments. Again, a lot of people are going to weigh this game with the other 32.
Yeah.
And they're going to break it down, and I'm going to hear people say that our team was garbage. It's not good enough. It's not these things. This game, though, was incredible. I agree with you. We can't break down the whole season in one game, but this game was incredible. I'm with you, Connor. I love when you get fired up. Buddy.
No, I mean, it was, I mean,
and
it was
we have
great.
microphones, and you're screaming.
Yeah.
Do you want me to talk like this?
No, but
No.
I mean, you're in my ear, too. So.
Oh, yeah.
It's fine, but Vince, to your credit, you did call this, right? As we got out, you had a feeling this one was going to be a close one. It was going to be exactly what we thought it was going to be. What just set this one apart, though, from the other games that gives you some sort of optimism?
I mean, they looked really good.
Yeah.
They didn't finish. Hey, newsflash!
Finish the chances.
Scoring goals is the hardest thing to
Theme of
do
this season.
in this sport, which is why it's what it is.
Right.
But the creation of chances. I mean, they just chance after chance. The counter press, the movements positionally. I mean, I said it right before we went on. I think the one thing that was scary is Carlos Vela Chicho Arango's kryptonite? Because all of a sudden, the man that could not stop scoring lost his scoring touch. I mean, we weren't talking about half chances here, full-on chances. Yeah. Although we should give credit to, well, no one wants us to, and the people behind his goal definitely hated him. Maxime Crepeau was pretty incredible for Vancouver in this match. Again, there's a lot. I understand the upset, but I want to break down this game because it was such a good game.
Right.
Sorry.
I know, Jen, tell us, what were your thoughts on this one?
I couldn't agree more with both of them. I know it does suck. We didn't get the 3 points. We didn't get the win, but at the same time, what a great game. Technically, I mean, second half, the one touch is obviously the final third was not on point, but I just think from a soccer fan's perspective, what a great game to watch. Unfortunately, again, didn't get the 3 points, but we can learn from it, keep going.
Right, and before we continue breaking this one down, just a reminder for everyone, there will be live fireworks going off here behind us pretty shortly. So if you hear that or if we have to abruptly stop, that will be why. Actually, I think no, that's the drums. It's the drums. We'll know when the fireworks happen.
It might look really cool, though.
Right, yeah. So if you hear anything, that's what's happening behind us. But, Vince, I want to keep touching on Crepeau. I mean, 24 shots, 11 shots on goal tonight, 10 saves. A performance like that is almost... He carried that team, in my opinion.
Oh, Canada.
Absolutely. I mean, look, to your point, Connor, he's one of the best goalkeepers in North America, and he proved it. Look, if I could give a stock up for somebody on the other team, I would give it to him. I don't know where his stock can go because he's already the number one for Canada. It's funny because when we broke this game down, that's the one thing I think all of us overlooked because we just felt like if LAFC is going to do it, they're going to be able to finish and have great chances. And it was funny because last week you came up against Stefan Fry, who got wrong-footed on Chicho Arango's goal. Everything went right for us. Right. And then I think that's what made us overlook the fact that Vancouver has a really good goalkeeper, and I think they need to go into that locker room and say, oh, man, thank God we're alive because of you as well.
Right.
Like, they could have been done. I think if LAFC finishes them off, I don't see Vancouver winning their final match. But now they can kind of say, hey, we kept ourselves alive. We held on by the skin of our teeth.
Yep.
And thank you, Maxime Crepeau. Please do it again next week.
Absolutely. So, Connor, you were optimistic about us scoring a lot of goals. The opportunities definitely were there. With that said, what is your headline for this one?
That's a wrap. I think.
You think it's over?
I think it's over. I mean,
now we got to do a lot of math, which
no,
I don't like.
regardless of the math, that's assuming we can get 3 points against Colorado. We were talking about how good LAFC played today, and they like. It's hard to say like what would you have done better to get those 3 points? There's
Finish your chances.
But
that's a good
we
point.
had like 10 shots on target. I mean, yes, not all of them were the best, but like there wasn't really more we could do. But that being said, we hardly play like that on the road. And going into Colorado this time of year, when they're still trying to challenge for second spot. Like I don't see us getting 3 points in Colorado, and so I genuinely think that's a wrap on this season, just because we weren't able to get 3 points here.
And you know, Jen, being a former professional athlete in these types of situations, what is that locker room like tonight, and how do they stay focused with still a big match on the road coming up this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, clearly it's definitely a kind of a defeat a little bit. You always want to come out with the win, and I think the locker room is definitely very heavy right now. But at the same time, as a player, like, you're gonna have players who are, you know, quit. But I do think that a majority of the players, you have leaders like Carlos Vela and a bunch of other of the guys who are gonna push the team up, who aren't done yet. And as a pro athlete, the grind never stops. You have to keep going, and I think you have to have that strong mindset. You have to have mentality is everything, and it's not over to me.
I'd say that the locker room actually looks pretty happy. They're walking around doing signatures, dancing around with their families. So
Well,
yeah, at the same time, this isn't the
Yeah,
locker
but let's
room,
put
it's
it in
the stadium.
perspective.
Right.
This was the final home game of the season.
I know.
I would say another stock up should be the crowd, because it was absolutely electric in here.
it
Again, it
was.
felt like a playoff game.
On a Tuesday night against the Whitecaps.
They didn't stop cheering 32-52 the whole game until the last 30 seconds.
I would give LAFC credit for going and doing a victory lap, because
Right.
there is a lot of
course.
people in there feeling the weight of these 33 games
Right.
and are just cursing and saying it's not good enough. But for them to go and say, you guys have been with us through bad and good. This match definitely didn't turn out the way we wanted, but we might not see you guys again in this season. And for some of these guys, actually, I think for not a lot of them, but a handful of them, they're not going to be back.
Right.
That's what happens when you don't have the season you expected to have. So for them to go out there and do that, I mean, happy is a relative word, I think, Connor, but they're trying to put on a brave
Sure,
face.
of
Yes,
course.
yeah.
I said that a little as a joke, but you brought up a good point. You know, some guys might not be back.
I mean,
Did we just witness Carlos Vela's last game for the black and gold?
I mean, I don't think so.
Yeah,
but it
I-
could
At
be.
home. At home.
No, I mean, I not just saying because he's going to play in Colorado.
Right.
I
don't know.
honestly believe that he will be back
Yeah.
next season.
Who knows?
I think it's better than 50-50, but there's always a doubt. I mean, things can happen.
You never know. It's soccer.
yeah, and I mean, you know, Connor, to your point, seeing them celebrate, maybe there is a little bit of them that also feels like that was a wrap, you know? So you never know, but there is still one more left. So, Jen, what was your headline for this one?
Just focusing on this game, I think my headline was more minutes, please. Just because the extra time added was so minimal, and I feel like we needed more. And I think towards the end, we had about 2 very close chances that could have easily been goals. So I think that extra time definitely would have helped.
On top of that, the ref ended the match 30 seconds earlier.
I agree.
Yep.
30 seconds earlier than the only 4 minutes they added.
Yep.
Trust me, there was more than 4 minutes of stoppage time.
Yeah.
That was atrocious.
The
by
coaching staff
referees.
made a beeline for those referees, and there was a long conversation,
Good.
almost as long as that extra time. I want to ask you this, Jen, because this was something that we kind of talked about. There was a possible penalty with Raheem at the very end of the game, but it results in LAFC having a throw-in in stoppage time. Now LAFC can hold the ball and hope and pray that they review it or they go fast. LAFC goes fast because they figure we've been playing so good we can create another chance. And they did create another chance, but in a player, what do you do? What do you do? There's no right answer really in that moment. Like, what do you do in that moment?
Yeah, you're right. There's no right answer, but at the same time, I think they definitely should have revised it. It's a crucial game towards its playoffs. It's playoffs or not. I think they should have it was to me it was a penalty. I don't know, but
Connor
I don't know.
disagrees.
You might have to, yeah.
I mean, I think it would have been a harsh penalty. I think if Raheem kind of sold it a little bit more, it would have been called our way. I mean, he kind of stood his ground a little bit, which you know the refs usually tend to favor the opposing team when you stand your ground. I don't know. We shouldn't be relying on penalties to win the game.
Right. I feel like as a whole, they just kind of let him play through a lot of it tonight. And that was one of those plays that they just they just let the clock keep running, you know. And yes, so we do have those fireworks behind
go.
us. Look at them. They're
That's pretty sick.
Luckily, it's not
Because-
too loud, so we
Wow.
can actually
Hey,
keep doing this. It's
and-
pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, we all, worked through this season as well, especially, shout out to Vince here every single match, bringing you guys the best breakdowns and analysis. So, Vince, take it away with your headline.
Ooh, my headline is there's not going to be second chances. I kind of agree with you, Connor. It does feel like the math at this point is too not in our favor, but also it feels like this is just the way it's going for LAFC. They find a way to bring us always to the brink this season, and they haven't been quite able to put it over the top. And that's why I say I think there's going to be a handful of guys that aren't going to be back, because you really got to reassess. I don't think this team has ever been as bad as people have said they have been, but when you go into the season knowing, one, there's a couple of guys that shouldn't have been here, like a Diego Rossi. Unfortunately, he probably thought he shouldn't have been here. Brian Rodriguez kind of feels that way. I don't think Carlos Vela is quite on that level. That's why I think he will be back. And then you kind of have to fill in gaps, and there's injuries. Like, they really have to sit down and reassess. I think it's time for an LAFC 2.0.
Okay.
This group, I really feel like, and that started with the sending of the player we're going to see this weekend, Mark-Anthony Kaye away.
Yep.
It's kind of the acceptance of we need to kind of refresh the core a little bit, move some guys on. So I think John Thornton really has his job cut out for him this season, this offseason. First decision is going to be Bob Bradley, whether Bob Bradley's back. I think he should be, because aside from the results, a good club has to look at a whole lot of things, because sometimes soccer can be bad bounces, or it could be like it was tonight, where you just create, you don't get all 3 points. I believe that Bob and John Thornton deserve an LFC 2.0. They've never done a full rebuild. They've kind of chopped and changed a little bit, saying we could tweak it here or there. I just really think that's what we have to do. One last game to play for. Maybe we get in the playoffs, but I kind of have eyes towards what are going to be the moves. How do we refresh this thing?
Right. And Connor, our chat is noticing that you need a hug, so just gonna bring it in for you there. They're seeing you. They're feeling you.
I need to go to like a rage room.
He does. He
Throw
has,
some plates.
like many of you, Connor has a lot of emotions right now. But as we have touched on, this was such a good match, Connor. So dig deep. Tell me your stock rising for this one.
My stock rising?
Yes.
Maxime Crepeau. I mean, he was phenomenal. Canada's #1. He will be forever now.
I just wish you had a Canada shirt underneath this, and you just rip it off, and you're like,
well, for those of you who don't know, I'm a big Canadian national team supporter.
No.
You?
I was talking to Lucas Cavallini on the sideline. I was like, "What? Glad you're back, bro."
What did he say?
He was like,
He said, "Who are you?"
he was like, "Thank you, man." I was like,
Respect.
Okay.
weird.
The respect
Okay.
was there.
No, but I mean,
And then you went, "But you suck."
I'd like to have a stock up for LAFC.
There were good performances.
There were good performances, but
Nothing put them over the top, right?
Nothing put them over the top, or would make their stock better than it was before. Like we were white hot. You know what I mean? So was Vancouver.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. You were really hot on Carlos, the thought of him coming in playing. So
He got involved. It was
what were
great.
your thoughts on his performance?
I think he was great. He got involved. He wanted the ball. You could tell he's still coming back from a long injury, but with the idea that maybe we still can get into playoffs in some way, shape, or form, I think Carlos will be ready to be that difference. Because I mean, Carlos came on, he was just created it left and right.
He was, but did you get the feeling that some players were relying a little bit too heavily
Way
on
too
Carlos
much.
Vela?
Way too
Like
much.
it was telegraphed. Like there was a moment. Look, Carlos can create space just by moving a few yards one way. That doesn't mean you have to pass him the ball.
100%.
I mean,
Every single
you
time.
guys were down low. You guys could probably see it from up top. Just seeing the swarm of players that go to him in the times that not the right moment to pass him the ball. You can skip him, and that's what made LAFC dangerous at points, was not playing the obvious ball. But then they kind of got into a moment, and luckily Carlos has that touch that he can get them out of danger. But I felt too many times I don't want to see this in Colorado, especially if he starts.
Right.
Don't just play it to him, because when we saw team effort, we saw them moving positionally, playing third man runs. That's when they looked really, really good, and that's when Carlos can be really dangerous on the move.
Right. And these back-to-back performances from Carlos, do you think he gets the start against Colorado?
Ooh. I don't know, Jen, take that one. Where does you think he's at in his recovery? If he's 15 minutes and 30 minutes, you start him, where is he going to be at? What do you got to think about?
Yeah, I mean, from a protocols perspective, I know that you can't play the full, you can't start if you're coming back from injury or anything like that. But that brings me to also my stock rising, which is Carlos. I think that just also the community, the LAFC community, I think when they started chanting his name, it just gave me chills. And I think it also helped the team with energy and him, coming on the pitch as well. I think that he created a lot of chances. But yeah, I don't think he's going to start. But I do think he's going to get some more minutes just because of how much he created in those, in those 10, 20 minutes.
Do you think that the atmosphere and the chants and just you could feel the pressure in the room when he stepped on the pitch. Do you think that affected the players and their decision making to force the ball to him at times?
Yeah, for sure. I think just like he was saying, I think that sometimes it's next game, I think they're going to know, okay, they're going to play Carlos the ball. They're going to play Carlos the ball here, there. And I think that sometimes it's a little obvious. He always has, 3 players on him. And thankfully, like you were saying, he gets out of it because he has that magic touch. But yeah, I think at times it's really smart to play the opposite of him.
Right.
Well, I mean, at this 3-4 years in, or I forget what year it even is now.
Year 4.
MLS teams have kind of cracked the Carlos Vela code a little bit. Okay, when was the last time he scored his trademark left-footed shot?
Yeah, they're not going to give him. They're not going to give him that.
They're not giving him that space.
But
were you there?
I think I was there.
No,
but
in the moments when he came in and they gave him the ball in the right moments, he was. I mean, his first. I wrote down in my notebook like within the first 5 minutes he created 2 chances, but then they just kept being like, okay, back to you again.
Yeah.
Back to you again. Back to you again, and it was like, no.
It felt forced.
Yeah.
They were letting him initiate the plays rather than just initiating the plays and letting him be a part of the play.
Well, and again, because Carlos runs doesn't mean you pass him the ball. Right. He's getting into different positions. He's creating space for you. You can do other things. It seemed like everyone had not everyone. Right. There's a few players. Look, I love Latif Blessing, but I always say Latif's plan A, B, and C is pass the ball to Carlos. And then D, he can dribble and he can get out of trouble. But some guys just seem to defer, and I get it. It's Carlos Vela. I understand. But Carlos doesn't want you to do that. I've never seen Carlos bark at someone for not passing all the time. Right. There was a moment where Mamadou didn't play him the ball, and he just kind of let him know, like, look, when that guy goes there, this guy goes here, this is the pass.
Yep.
But other than that, didn't seem like he really wanted the ball at every single second of the play.
Right. Well, moving past Carlos, Vince, who or what was your stock rising tonight?
I could go a few different places here. Honorable mention to Cheeky Palacios. I think we saw him in that Seattle game, and we said we really liked him at the 6. It was different to have a ball-winning 6. This game was much tougher. Yeah. This Vancouver team really sold out to clog up the midfield, win balls in midfield, and go in transition with Brian White, Ryan Gauld, and Dahomey, which is they do pretty well. I mean, this Vancouver team is a much better team than I think we even saw them in August.
Right.
So credit to him. He kind of grew into the game. It took him a minute to understand what was going on. For a guy that hasn't played the 6 to play in a high-leverage game and do that. But for me, it was the tempo of the passing. Yep. The sharpness wasn't there, but the ability at times to 1-2 touch quickly, get it to the open man, and then create a space, create almost mini transition moments. And I think Jen will know exactly what I'm talking about because it's something that like midfielders really look for is finding that out ball, you would say, and then that moment of when all of a sudden what looked like a congested sideline is now a 3v3, and you're running at defenders running back against your goal. That to me was stock rising for LAFC, and I want to see more of it. I think we saw some of it in Seattle. Minnesota, they tried to do it, weren't sharp. Seattle, they did it well. Today, I think it was top notch.
Jen, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I do think that they had that initial 1-2 touch going up the field, but just the final third is where.
Still that final ball though.
Yeah, that final third, and I think we had 22 shots and 10 were on goal. I think. We just need to get it on target.
What I don't understand is, from wide areas, what the idea is with those low crosses, I'd call them. Is there... Because it always seems to be all over the place. I feel that LAFC, we're just trying to get it into a dangerous area rather than trying to get it to a specific player.
Well, what is the percentage of times you can get it right on someone's head versus
Right.
put it in a dangerous area and things happen.
Well, I'm saying, like, are we going first post? Are we going second post? Are we going top of the box? It feels just kind of
Chaotic.
just get it in there.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, we're not a great crossing team, but there were moments. I think I think it was Sifu that sent that early ball when Carlos thrust through the middle and Chicho wasn't able to finish because Crepeau, because he
Yep.
was everywhere.
Right.
But that was a good early ball. There was moments of good early balls. I agree with you. Look, we're not always the greatest crossing team. That's why I think it's better to send it into a dangerous area because we don't have great headers of the ball. per
Brian
se.
had a couple as well, I think,
Yep.
on this side too. So
And, Vince, going to stick with you here because you already started to address some of the things that LAFC is going to have to face moving past this season. So after this one, and even as a season as a whole, what would you say is your stock falling?
Ooh, stock falling season as a whole. Right, season as a whole is injuries.
Okay.
You just can't discount those. I know that everyone always says, well, every team has injuries. Carlos Vela for long stretches. Eddie Segura.
Twice. Carlos twice.
Carlos Vela twice. Diego Rossi to start the season. Eddie Segura, who's an absolute rock. Now Edward Atuesta.
Yep.
Then Poncho Janela starts playing well. He gets injured by a bad tackle from Chofis. I mean, injuries have just been horrible. So that's why I think it's a weird way that you got to kind of think, like, how do we reconfigure this team? Some of it is injuries, some of it's not our fault, but there definitely has to be some changes.
Yep.
Because in moments, even when there was injuries, we were looking at this team and going, Bob Bradley was like, man, I got to change the formation completely because I have no wingers or I have none of this, I have none of that. For me, stock falling, and it's been something that he needs to really address in the offseason, is Mamadou Fall scored a goal.
Yep.
He's incredible on set pieces. I love him to
Very
death.
fast.
I love him to death. He's very fast. He has all the physical tools. But man, when he steps into the play and he steps forward with the ball, he has zero ideas of what's going to happen next. And
It's like everything, his mind goes blank, and he just tries to go forward the
it's
entire
all about
way.
speed. He has that dribbling. He kind of has that dribbling style where he plays the ball slightly in front
Yep.
and then has the long legs that he can touch it past you. And when it works, it looks great. And I know we talk about attackers, final product, because that's their job, final product. When you're a defender, you don't normally think about final product, but you almost need to think about it more because when you lose the ball, especially in the way he's losing the ball, it's so much more detrimental to your team. And I thought that he put his team under a lot of duress in moments when it just didn't need to happen.
Right.
Get the ball, make the first man miss, move the ball, and let's restart again. Because positionally we were good. He was just trying to do too much, and this is not a one-off.
Yeah.
He has been dangerous with his distribution. Everything else, love about him. But if he can clean that up, I mean, we're talking about a really good player. He is only 18.
I mean, we're talking about our back line. Eddie's injured.
Yep.
We talked about Mamadou. We absolutely love him. He's a stud, but there are some
Big
Things
decisions.
he can clean up.
things he can clean up. I'd say the same thing about Murillo.
Yeah, no,
Like,
there's
there-
big decisions to make at that back line.
We're at a point when we have I'd say a good pool of center halves, and
Center half, you went old school English there. Yeah, I like it.
But who starts? Who goes?
Yeah.
Are our options right now good enough
Mhm.
to be where we want to be? We want to be an MLS Cup winning team.
Mhm.
That will be the goal for the entirety of our history.
Right.
With that in mind, is Murillo good enough to be an MLS Cup winning center back?
You tell us.
Is Mamadou Fall? I don't think Murillo's cut out for it. I mean, I think we've seen it throughout the season when Eddie Segura's not
What'd you think
there.
about him in this game, though? I thought he was actually pretty good in the game.
I thought his distribution was fine. I think
You know the best best like comparison for a player that that people will know is Giorgio Chiellini. Giorgio Chiellini plays in such a way that he's very physical. He wants to get tight to you, and it always seems like he's always last-ditch defending, but he gets it right. Whereas Murillo
doesn't get it right.
is like 50-50, and that's why it's so frustrating. He's not a technical center back. He's a kind of dark arts, like does the dirty work center back. It's weird because there's not a lot of guys like that anymore either.
Right. Well, Vince, and then there's still a guy like Tristan Blackman.
Mhm.
You know, where
Sebastian
to see
Biaga,
him.
who's been very good as I mean, you've got Mamadou Fall, Tristan Blackman, Sebastian Biaga, you've got Murray, and you've got Eddie Segura, who you think is going to be back. Also, there's Mohamed Traore, who's a younger and possibly an option as another depth. To Connor's
So
point,
who are you keeping?
Traore should be gone next season. I mean,
Why?
he's taking up an international roster spot.
yeah, but you can get him a green card. I don't think you got to worry about him. Plus, he can go to Vegas, and when he goes to
Sure.
Vegas, he doesn't count. I think you got to think about cap.
Yep.
Now,
Yeah, going back to the guys you just named,
Yeah.
who are you keeping / most likely you think will be here?
here's the easiest way to put it. I think you keep someone like Sebastian Ubiaga, who's on a very reasonable salary and has proven he can start in moments and be good depth. The real decision is between Jesus Davimario and Tristan Blackman, who we're now wondering. I know he has the ceiling to reach that height, to what Connor says, to be a little bit of physicality of what Murray provides, but also he can be clean. He can be a Sergio Ramos type athletic player,
Right.
but we've had to put him at right back. We've moved him all around. You need to decide, is he the center back of the future, or one of them has to go? Probably.
So, we have to realize at some point that LAFC have had these mini projects to, we
Right.
want Tristan to play as a center back. We've been trying to push for that for 3 years now. I mean, if it's not going to happen now, then it might not ever happen.
So,
you know?
It's a
Connor,
salary cap league, though, so you got to make these decisions.
Connor, go manager mode for me. What decisions are you
Murray's
making?
gone.
That was quick. Jeez. Wow.
I'm just trying to keep it real. And
Squid Games over
Well,
here.
Yeah,
what's
keep it real
frustrating-
for us.
well, I won't say he's gone that quick.
No, you
It's-
did.
No,
but you
it's,
did.
It's interesting because you don't know how quickly Eddie Segura will be back.
Right.
And what plays into that? You're assuming that he's going to be our number one starting center back, but what if he's out for more than just the end of the season? What if he's out for into the next season, halfway through the season? And this is why it's weird with all these injury talks, because you don't know.
Right.
There's
We don't
so
know.
much unknown.
Yeah.
I'm still not sold on Mamadou. I love him, but I don't know if he can be starting week in, week out for LAFC. But I don't know if he can be on the bench anymore either.
I mean, he's 18. You got to give him some credit. You understand that age.
Well, no, he knows nothing. He's like a 35-year-old going on 18.
well, I get it, but does that mean he deserves to be starting week in,
Well, wait,
week out?
we have a professional here. What do you do with a player that you can't trust to really start week in and week out, but you definitely can't put him on the bench?
I think at this level, it has to be about consistency, which is all about my stock. Right? No,
Falling.
Sorry. Yeah, where are we?
Falling.
Mamadou falling.
It's been a long season.
Yeah, it's been a long season for sure. But I think it's all about that. I think at this level, you definitely just have to. Your starters need to be 100%, and if not, still better than the people on the bench. And I think that, with that being said, I don't think he should be in the starting lineup.
But I mean, I just want to reiterate that we'll get sit here and talk about who should stay.
What gets said here stays
Right.
here. It's not
Who
like it's
should
going
go?
on the internet live to a bunch of people that can access it forever. We're not putting this anywhere, are we, guys?
But
It's not going to YouTube or anything where it lives forever.
Yeah. The internet always
If
remembers.
you told me
Never
when we
forgets.
started this season within a season that we would
We'd still be undefeated.
we'd still be undefeated with only 2 draws, I would have told you we would have already clinched playoffs.
Yeah, 11 points so far in
so
the
keep
season
in mind
within the
that
season.
Almost no results have gone our way in this
Right.
stretch of 5 games, which
Yeah.
is unbelievable for how bad a lot of the teams are.
Yeah.
So we sit here with 1 game left with the amount of points that we've been able to accumulate these past couple games, and we haven't clinched playoffs.
Right.
It sucks. And this team, though inconsistent, has shown that when times get rough, we can band together and play some good football. At the end of the day, it's always good football.
Right.
I made this point to.
But it's not always.
Not always.
As
but
of recent, it's been
a
turned up a
vast,
notch.
a vast majority of the time.
Yeah, of course. No, we've said.
No matter
I've said
what.
that. The
Right.
underlying
I
numbers,
mean,
things look good, but
I think
lately it's been really good.
even as an LAFC fan, I think, Connor, you're speaking for a lot of our viewers right now, people in the chat, but especially even watching them throughout this season, it's been frustrating because you can always tell that they're the better team on the pitch. They're just not executing better or finishing the chances, as we talked about for so long. So with that, Connor, though, what tonight was your stock falling?
I
Biggest
mean,
red flag.
It's got to be Chicho Arango. Like, I mean, for how good he has been,
Yeah.
so his stock is all the way up here.
Right.
For him to play like he did today, like he wasn't bad, but he's our assassin. He's the
Right.
guy that we brought on and that we've trusted now
Yeah.
to get on the back of crosses, just get into the dangerous areas and be able to slot the game home.
Yep.
Where,
He did 99% of that and forgot that 1% that's so crucial.
Right.
And that's the toughest thing about this sport is
Right.
that you can do everything right and still not get a result because the margin is so thin.
Yeah,
It
welcome
isn't
to
like
football.
football. It isn't like American football or basketball when you're just going like this and scoring points the entire game. It comes down to one play. He missed a clear cut chance to just plop it in the back of the net at the end of the game. On that basis alone, the stock falling. You know, this team, you can play beautiful football. What I was really getting at, this team has played phenomenal in this season within a season. We aren't a terrible team by any means, but if you want to be a championship winning team, you have to put those chances in the back of the net.
Right.
And that's what separates the great teams from the good teams.
Well, even finer point on it, if you want to be a championship team, you have to make the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
So we've taken 11 from 15 points of the season within the season, which, again, we would all say, like, that's pretty good. We're undefeated. If we win, we'll reach that kind of magic number mark of 48 points, which historically, with a 34-game season and with the amount of teams, is playoff worthy. And we have some tiebreakers in our favor, although we still kind of need some results like RSL to just dump one. But
Dump one.
if we get 14 out of 18 possible points and don't make the playoffs, I'm curious what all you guys think is kind of like the assessment
We
of the season
riot.
within the season.
We riot. We go to the MLS headquarters.
Like, what taste is left in your mouth?
Doo-doo.
I mean, it's
Sorry,
kind of
18-year-old.
what I said off the top. Like, a lot of people are gonna assess this game on the basis of the 32 prior, and they're gonna come and go, "It's not good enough. It's not this." And you're right. At the end of the season, if we don't make it on 48 points, it wasn't good enough, and that's why I've kind of talked about LAFC 2.0. Although, look, there's been mitigating circumstances, injuries, different things, call-ups, things like that. Guys needing to be moved on to different places. It's gonna make you feel the bitterest taste. But if you could just encapsulate that 6 games, man, it was cool to be on that run. And I know that's not going to make a lot of good people feel good. And that's not going to, you don't hang that on your mantle. We're not putting that in our trophy case anytime soon. But I'm optimistic. Because I'm never binary in they're the greatest team ever or they're absolute trash. I always like to try to, that's why we do analysis. I mean, if it was, we could just I could just come on here and go, we sucked. And we could walk out.
Jen, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think going off with what Vince said, sorry. LAFC 2.0 is something to look forward to. I think, obviously, I don't think the season is over. There's one more game, whether, whatever happens. But at the same time, LAFC 2.0 gives the players and everyone in the LAFC community that motivation to just come back even better. This season was not the greatest at all. It was terrible. It was unlucky. It was whatever you want to call it. But at the same time, the comeback is always stronger.
But can I just say, no one should assess this game with the rest of the season. Because that's just,
but they will,
quite frankly, stupid. That being said, we've gotten to this point for whatever reason. And we know fate is in our hands. We win this game, and against Colorado, we're in the playoffs. We don't need to do scoreboard watching. If we win both games, fate is in our hands. So you better believe the championship team goes out there and gets the win when it's most important. Regardless of what happened earlier in the season, regardless of inconsistency, and that's what's most frustrating for me. You know what's on the line, and you have control of your destiny. And then they come up short. So that's why you still have to put a little fault on LAFC because we didn't know what was at stake, and we weren't able to get the win. I hate the refs.
Yeah, as we know, there's been multiple times this season that I think everyone can agree with you on that. But, we still did get a point tonight. So looking at that, looking ahead to this weekend, Vince, your final thoughts?
My final thoughts are, if you're new here, welcome to football. This is the way it goes. This is what I've been trying to say throughout this entire broadcast is, to Connor's point, yes, championship teams do that, but that's in hindsight. We always say, that's what a championship team does after the final whistle. During this match, LAFC did everything within their power. They created the chances. They were on the front foot. They were pushing Vancouver. Sometimes that's football. And whatever happens on Sunday is whatever happens on Sunday. I would expect that they put together a performance against Seattle. They did this. It seems like the trajectory is good. You got Vela coming back for more. A lot of guys seem to be in really good form. So whatever happens, happens. They may very well go out, put in a great performance against Colorado, which, by the way, is undefeated in 15 home matches. So if they are able to beat Colorado, it would be an incredible feat. And still drop out of the playoffs. Regardless, changes need to happen, right? 72-point season. We break all the records. We fall short against Seattle. There was microscopic changes because they felt, okay, we're just one thing away. COVID hits. Some people don't move on. The whole plan kind of gets stalled. Again, I'm optimistic and excited for what LAFC 2.0 can be, but I'm still happy and ecstatic with this team and the way they finished. They've put at least a good feeling in me for watching them. I might have a bitter taste in my mouth when the standings come out at the end of the day, but I have a good feeling about the football that they play, and I want to see more of that football. Maybe with some different pizzas, but I want to see more of that football. I don't want a full teardown and full rebuild.
I'm hungry.
It did sound like you said pizzas.
Well, yeah.
Pizzas. I want more pizzas.
I want
Same.
more. I mean,
Same.
I'm Italian. Everyone wants more pizza.
You're Italian?
Anywho, Jen, you're very realistic here in this situation. We love the perspective that you bring. So your final thoughts for our LFC fans on this one?
Yeah, I think beautiful game of soccer. Watching it, I think the ups and the downs, that's what makes a soccer game. That's what the players live for. And as a player, they know how good Colorado is. They know what they have to bring. So I think that can also light up that fire in them. And like I said, as a player, I don't think that they think it's over mentally.
Right.
I do think that fire is going to spark up something, and hopefully it's to playoffs.
Yeah. Connor?
What's up?
Yep. Lay it on us. Lay it on us.
Just to reiterate my point.
Again.
I mean,
we're gonna let him finish, but
the first of all, the officiating.
Wait, did you ever have a point?
I had
he's
multiple
had lots
points.
of points.
The officiating.
Is this where you're going with your final thought on officiating?
No, I have a couple of points.
Okay.
It's been a
We're all
wild
gonna sit
ride.
here and listen.
Buckle in, people.
So,
buckle in.
Officiating 4 minutes of extra time. You quit 30 seconds early. You're letting simple fouls go all across the field. The game's getting scrappy. You need to take control over the match, and they didn't. It was very frustrating.
This guy's new to MLS.
Very frustrating. I mean, that says a lot about MLS. MLS referees. You guys saw Orlando versus Nashville.
Connor, what have I said?
Blah, blah.
We needed better players. We needed better stadiums. We needed better coaches. The last thing we need is better refereeing, and this league will go up a level.
Yeah.
But they don't look. In America, maybe they just think we like watching wrestling matches or whatever that
Okay,
was. At the time.
point one was refereeing. Next point.
Point 2 was, you know what's at stake. You have to win, and you didn't. So look yourself in the mirror. Even though you played good, you still didn't get the win at the end of the day. Point 3, LAFC is due an LAFC 2.0. I think at this point, coming into the postseason and into next season, we're far enough away from COVID. The players will have an off season to rest and recuperate after a long injury-prone season.
Right.
But I think you still see signs of kind of a heartbroken 2019 team. We did just tweak a couple things here and there, and the team, although the locker room the atmosphere may be good, we don't know what the locker room is like.
Right.
But it feels like we need identity, with the whole Carlos thing kind of being up in the air, with Chicho just coming in, and people, maybe that's the next big thing. Brian Rodriguez still being Brian Rodriguez, still being so inconsistent. Who is LAFC going into next season? What is LAFC?
Yep.
Really, I don't know what that is. Do we play consistently with 5 at the back? Do we consistently play with 4 in the back? Do we play with 3 in the back? So
I don't worry too much about formations.
But
we saw the DNA and the identity of what they like to do with the
Connor,
ball.
but does this identity continue with Bob Bradley?
maybe not. I don't. I bet.
That was so genuine. Like, oh my God.
Well,
I never thought of it until now.
Well, I don't know. I'm not. I don't know if I would be able to make that call because I don't know who could be better than Bob Bradley.
That is the biggest question. You can't take a step down.
And I've seen you, Vince, bring that point up a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
But Bob Bradley and John Thornton can still be at the helm and bring out an LAFC 2.0 first game of next season with the goal of winning MLS Cup. Right. We messed up big time this year. We messed up big time this year. You better believe next year we're coming in with our standards this high.
The football ideas are there. We're not saying we don't. We've all said 2.0.
Right.
There's going to be turnover. Look, it's MLS. There's always turnover. There's going to be an expansion draft. We're going to have to protect certain guys. We might lose players. So regardless, there's turnover in a salary cap league. I don't know what the status. We know this. Bob Bradley's contract's up after this year. He said he will talk about it at the end of the year. Coaches do that anyways. I mean, that's how teams assess the end of the year. It's the best time to make a change. I just think as what we're seeing and the ideas that I'm still seeing, you move some players around, you get some players healthy, you have a really good team. I don't think you need to change the ideas as much as you need to get healthy and maybe get a few different roles.
Yeah.
I don't worry too much about 5 in the back, this in the back. Get players that can play well and play well with this identity. And I think what I like about LAFC is they can now play in different ways. First 2-3 years, it was 4-3-3 no matter what. Now they can change around a little bit, but
Which
still,
they have done this season.
They have done a lot
Yeah.
this season. They've done it in the middle of games this
Right.
season, which has been great. I love that. But they've always seemed to keep their core identity, and that is the toughest thing to do in this sport. That's why you have teams like Liverpool, Barcelona, that just have a style, and then you have teams that are Real Madrid that will just buy everyone. Okay, maybe that's your way to go, but I just don't think that works in MLS.
Right. Well, we definitely know that LAFC is going to be looking under the hood this offseason. But before we get to the offseason, there is still a game this weekend against Colorado. And not just that, tomorrow you can check out the Max and Vince podcast. I'm sure they're going to have a lot to discuss after this one. Then on Sunday, we do have an away days instant reaction post game. And Tuesday, another Max and Vince podcast. So make sure that you're still staying tuned,
I'm gonna have to do a
still
lot of
checking
talking next
things
week.
out. You really are. But with that, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you for being here, and we'll see you for away days. And make sure, again, listen to that Max and Vince podcast. You won't want to miss it. Thanks, everyone.
How about those fireworks, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that was a positive. We should have done that. Stock rising, the fireworks.